Out of the Ordinary Insights, brought to you by Investec Specialist Bank.
Good evening and welcome to this edition of our Captains of Industry. Now, if you heard the words labor unrest, soaring costs, power issues in terms of supply and security of supply, you had resource nationalism, you hear of depleting grades and general rising costs around your whole operation, you'd have to think, you'd have to be a very tough character to take on that challenge. Well, tonight, we're joined by a woman who has made that leap. 6 months ago, Khanyisile Kweyama became Executive Director of Anglo American. And tonight, she's talking to us and telling us the story. Khanyisile, thank you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Godfrey.
I listed all those challenges just to create and have an understanding of the kind of atmosphere that you came into. Why did you do it? You didn't have any choices.
Not quite, but I guess if somebody doesn't do it, then it leaves a vacuum. But I came from the platinum business. I used to be executive head for HR at Anglo American Platinum.
Yeah.
So labor challenges were not foreign to me. And so it's not something I would run away from just because there are labor challenges. And having said that as well, all the issues you mentioned are just an example of the dynamic South Africa that we are in, the challenges that we face. And to shy away from being part of the solutions towards that is not quite my character.
When they offered you the job, how long did you take to think about it? Was it an immediate decision like, I'll get it?
Yeah, I got it. I was first surprised. I wasn't expecting it. So
Sure.
it was, Are you sure? That was the initial reaction. And and actually, if I think back to it, I think I did not accept immediately.
Right.
I didn't immediately say, okay, I'm excited. We then went on and talked about other things. And then actually, interestingly, Cynthia Carroll later on said, oh, by the way, you haven't said whether you accept or not. So that just shows you that it was not immediate. But I think at the back of my mind as well, even though I had also been in the platinum business for a relatively short time, but we talk a lot about talent in the group. We have programs that nurture talent, that promote talent. And it was also saying to me that we recognize you as somebody that is talent in the group.
Yeah.
And we do want to move you to bigger things.
Sure.
And we talk a lot about diversity in the group and gender diversity, employment equity, black, white. So when that comes to you and you are a champion of diversity, to then say no and walk away from it because it has so many challenges would not be doing a service to the cause.
Yeah. So 6 months on, the first woman to be in that position, the first black woman to be in that position. So many firsts. Paint a picture for us. What have you found? What has it been like inside the cauldron? Because we look from outside, we only see challenges here.
No, as far as the company goes and Anglo American as the broader family, it has been, the family has been very welcoming of a woman, and a black woman in particular, and determined to demonstrate that we support the woman and we are going to do everything possible to make sure that she succeeds, because the success is not only about myself, it's
Sure.
about the many programs that we have on the group. So
You had a pal in Cynthia Carroll.
yes, absolutely. Who is a champion?
The first woman, Anglo CEO as well, yeah.
And that's why I say overarching is the fact that you do not walk away from challenges, because when we go out there as women, we say we are not giving enough space, we are not giving enough opportunities and challenges. So if you walk away from it, then you are killing the cause for many other women.
Sure.
So it has been an environment that there have been challenges, and very early in the year you talked about labor unrest. Those have come immediately onto the plate and to the table to solve. And we have seen friction with government, with DMR and all that. But even in the middle of all that friction and amidst all that, the various partners have said, we recognize you as a black person in South Africa, as a female who has taken this, and we want to support you, and we want to, however, these are the differences that we have, and how do we sit around the table and make sure that we engage those. So I think overall I have not received any negative pushback that says we don't want you here.
Some would say you were handed a poison chalice here.
Somebody said that about the Chamber of Mines appointment. You will know that I also got appointed vice president of the Chamber of Mines. I really don't think that that was the intention. I think it is a demonstration of transformation. And I think we shy away too many times to saying that us beneficiaries of people just are afraid of using that word, that I am a beneficiary of transformation. And when you go out there and fight for transformation, the way to demonstrate that it's happening is when the challenges come to you, you must take them.
True.
And not as a poison chalice, because I also think, once again, in this big Anglo American, to take somebody and set them up would do more harm to the company than to me as a person, as a human being. So I don't believe it's a poison chalice.
Let's talk about some of the issues that you've been dealing with. Obviously, top of mind is the whole issue around Anglo Platinum and the plan to retrench the 14,000 workers. Then, of course, I mean, you add the labor unrest. I mean, each time there's a shot fired at a South African mine, global headlines run that, you know, the country's in flames and that kind of thing. From where you sit, is it possible to bridge the gap of mistrust between government and the private sector, particularly when you look at the example of the planned retrenchments for Anglo Platinum?
It is possible.
It is possible.
It is possible.
What do we
it's
need
not
to
easy,
do?
And it says that there are sets of conversations that need to happen. And we need to make sure that the proper agenda items are on that conversation. You will read in the press about the negative sentiments towards Anglo American not having benefited from the country, and therefore I think as Secretary General of the ANC uses the word stolen our wealth. And you can either engage at that level and continue throwing to demonstrate that it has not been stolen, or whether there is merit in that. But I think the best conversation is to have in the office or away with the Secretary General.
Without me, you're saying?
Minister, without you fueling it, and you know, because for you are looking for the headline. But I think from the regulator side and from the political party and the government side, it is also prompting to say, let us have these conversations. And as Anglo American, we need to take up that and say, well, we are hearing you say you want us to talk. Well, let us talk. Let us fight and bloody ourselves behind closed doors and then come up with solutions
Have
together.
you found willing partners inside government? Are there people who are listening inside government?
Yeah, we engage quite regularly, and I think, once again, as you say, when you guys pick up the headline, then you run with that, and you don't look at the fact that there's processes.
I'm just
we are
doing
talking
my job,
to them every day. No, I understand, and I'm not disputing, you know, whether you should be doing that or not. But I think you should also play a role as the media in assisting that we build this SA brand. And right now, this SA brand does get tarnished. And both the private sector and the government sector need to come together to build the SA brand. And the media then, because you are the ones that people listen to, hear, read, you also need to assist us in building this brand. The conversations do happen. Each time you read a headline about that once a week, that then carries on into the rest of the week, we have probably had 20 conversations with various stakeholders in government, various departments, various ministries. So we are talking and we continue.
But that's where the challenge comes in, isn't it? Because if you look at Anglo Platinum, a listed company, obviously JSE regulations demand that they be the first to be told, or at least published on the SENS before you make an announcement of any sort. Whereas on government side, they're saying we are a stakeholder. Hello, we are supposed to be talking to each other. How do we make each other understand here our responsibilities to our different constituencies?
And we have to find a balance. We have to, and I think we will say, maybe with hindsight, and I think Chris Griffiths, the CEO of Amplats, has said this, said maybe with hindsight, we should not have boxed ourselves too much in the red tape of JSE is in this block and government is in this block. And we should have conversations with both parties to also, because JSE wants to be alerted as well. At first, so as we talk to them before, to say this is what, and get guidance from them so that we are more on the same page.
We know that Anglo is committed to South Africa. This is a company that was born in this country, but increasingly when you talk to people and they talk about Anglo strategy and its growth in the years before, they talk about a company that has spread its tentacles to other parts of the world. And increasingly the sense is investors from abroad are demanding that there be a separation of the business that are here in South Africa and the businesses that are outside. We've seen that pressure told on one of the gold companies. From where Anglo sits, is splitting the assets an option?
It's not a discussion we are having at this stage. It's not on the table. You know, it's not on the agenda. Yes, we do get it from investors when we go out and see them.
What do you tell them?
We tell them we are committed to South Africa, that we believe we are working on a strategy, that we don't have reason yet to believe that that strategy has failed. And therefore, we should be given an opportunity to see it through. And we review it regularly every year. We look at it, and we should be given an opportunity to see it through. Strategy has not changed. But as you know as well, we are also in the process of changing CEOs, in that our Cynthia Carroll has resigned and Makuti Fani is starting in a couple of weeks. And one cannot pretend that with new leadership doesn't come new ideas and new insights. And we need to let that process unfold as well, so that we hear what our new leader is planning and thinking together with the collective. Remember, leaders don't just go out on their own and say, because I'm the CEO, this is what I'm going to change. They sit with their executive team and say, you know, this is how I'm seeing things. So we need to be given an opportunity to do that. But I think the biggest thing for us is to be able to talk to our different stakeholders and make them aware that, yes, we are aware that the noises are happening, but give us an opportunity to engage properly. And I also think that it means our engagement should be taken to the next level, where it's not just confrontational and responsive and reactive, and it should go towards being more proactive, so that we say, you know, having said that, you talk about me as Anglo American, but remember, I'm also a person who is very passionate about this country, who is a South African, who is a South African that has made sacrifices early on in my life to say, you know, this was not a good government, I am going to fight it and come back. So I have the interest at my country, you know, very, very much close to my heart. And it is how I take that passion about my country and translate it to that passion about my company, which I believe is a very good company as well.
We're going to come back and talk about that aspect in the second half. But before we leave this half, I wanted, when you mentioned the fact that you're a CEO and you don't just say, this is what I want to do, it reminds me of a song by my son. He sings along the lines, my name is Ma and I do what I want.
And maybe that's the advantage of having a Ma now in this role, so that the Ma can say, my name is Ma. So I will use that line one day.
One day. I wanted to come back to it and just characterize the conversation with the government. Would you say it's complicated?
No, it sounds like Facebook. Hey, you know, we're on Facebook, the relationship, married,
it's complicated.
It's complicated, and I never understand what that means. I think complicated in the sense that we generally, sometimes we have different approaches to things. But the outcome is the same. We all want a better country. You know that the Minister of Finance read his budget and we say it was a business-friendly one. So that shows us that government also wants this economy to thrive. It wants businesses to thrive. But somehow we need to find each other as to how we have this conversation, so that people out there are perceiving that our relationship is not complicated, but that it's a marriage that we need to make work. So we need to move it from it's complicated to showing people that we actually are a couple.
Sure. Khanyisile Kweyama, Executive Director of Anglo American South Africa. We're talking to her tonight to gauge her thoughts and how her interactions with government are at the moment. When we come back in the second half, we'll try to find out just how thick-skinned she needs to be because of the issues she's dealing with. Don't go away.